Hello, everybody. Yes, uh, as I'm watching outside of the window, we have very strange weather at the moment. We just had a lot of thunder. It was pretty heavy, but it was for a short period of time, so it was very weird, actually. And but yes, I always find thunder very interesting, and so I watched and listened to it for a while, and now the sun is back, so it's really like it's a bit unstable. Um, yeah, a couple of things. Of course, there's a new Papa. There's a new Pope, and yeah, I told some people already, but I think he really looks like a Podesta in Pope robe. Um, yes, it could. Chances are it is an actor again. Um, I think the real one, the original, uh, does look like a Podesta. I don't think he's gonna be there for a long period of time. I think he's put there. He's positioned there like a piece of a chess game, and and it's. I think it's going to be the Pope who is going to sit on the throne for the most short period of time, or one of the most short periods of time, and it's a satanic a theater show, and it is interesting because of the whole Trump thing, of course, that goes along with it. But I mean, I think May is going to be a very interesting month for a lot of things. So let's see what's going to happen with that. Second thing is that yeah, I was just thinking about my journey here as an Earthling, and yeah, I came to a couple of things like. I think everyone here alive now has got her own share of traumatic experience or experiences, and has a way of responding because of that. And um, I'm a person who is very extreme with some ideas and visions. I realize that, but I don't believe that um, that traumas and sickness and stuff like that is a natural thing for us to go through. I think it's all created by what is now falling, the fall of the Cabal. If you want to know more about it, then go watch the series from Jeanette Ossebaard and also Sinta Kuter. But Jeanette started it, and will make a lot of things clear. And I think a lot of people are still waking up for the fact that everything that was learned here um, is all bullshit, and it's time to remembering other stuff. And I think many of us are going through that uh, transition right now from being asleep to remembering, and because of remembering, waking up for other possibilities and for other knowledge, and So yeah, so I don't believe that that sickness and uh, even becoming older is a natural thing. I think it was all created as a trap here, um, um, and that reality is what we are making of it ourselves. And I think it's a good thing to work through traumas, and there are all kinds of ways to do that. I have also another opinion about therapists. Sorry, everyone who feels like one or whatever. Um, I believe we are our own therapists, and I hate the expression which I come across a lot on the internet and stuff like that. That people say I'm an expert in energies. Well, um, no, you're not. You're an expert in your own energy because that is your own, and you're not an expert in my energy, and because I am, it's my energy, and um, so I don't believe in therapists. I do believe in activating activators and initiators. There are sometimes we need someone to activate something in ourselves to then become our own therapist and healer and whatever to yeah to heal ourselves. It's not uh, and that's it. That's the only thing I see as a possibility where somebody else can help you with. Um, and after that, it's creating your own way uh, of of becoming your own therapist, your own healer in that way. And uh, I did a couple of different things. They're all like they like to call it alternative paths in healing, and it worked out very well for me. And I'm now at a point that um, I have more clear what I want, and a part of my journey is to keep sharing my story and my experience I had, which of course caused trauma and trauma response. And I think one of the most difficult things for me was to um, come to to a nice um, I just had to look at the dog. He's fine. That yeah, my inner child was so wounded, just like I think with that's the case with everyone, and everyone has got his own childhood wounds, even if you think you had a very perfect childhood with no real difficulties or stuff like that. But I think um, my biggest challenge in that, and I'm still working on it, uh, is that I had to invent if I had to invent um, and create my own roots from where the child could grow uh, to an adult, because me myself and I were kind of stuck in not in childhood, I think more in adolescence period, teenager, somewhere there, early adolescence thing. And yeah, because I was robbed from my birth family and my origin of being a Brazilian, with the culture and the language and everything that's, you know, goes along with it. Um yeah, it is a big challenge to heal that, without um, having a real physical connection with my roots. And so what I'm doing right now intensively is connecting more to it, and meditate about my ancestors, and my family there, and um, with the language I'm learning here in Portugal, but that's European Portuguese. I'm more working now with Brazilian Portuguese. Um, this is not really rocket science, but because I felt so unrooted, it was difficult to feel, to start to feel more rooted in my within myself. And um, but it feels now finally like um, that is uh, that is growing now more in a healthy way. So I'm very happy and grateful for that. And um, yeah, also picked up my writing again. Um, some of you will know that I want to write my story, um, to work with others who've gone through the same thing, or have this the yeah, likewise, um, um, childhood trauma, and in my case that's a bit complicated thing because of not knowing uh, my mother and not knowing my father. So I had to create it myself to. And yeah, I think that's that's a continuing uh, thing in my life, but and needs maintenance, and that's fine. But a part of my journey is to share my story and my personal experience, and 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 to eventually help others, uh, and but it's very healing to use my voice for telling the story as well, because that is still important. It's still of importance, and it will become even more of importance, because um, many of us are speaking out in many different ways, and that's a very good thing. Uh, it's um, it's it's for many people so difficult to comprehend, to understand that there are so many horrific things happening to our little ones, especially the little ones, the children, and that the Netherlands has such a huge part in it. Over 80% of the child porn in this world um, uh, is there to see for others, because of all of the servers in the Netherlands. They provide it to the world, and um, yes, there is the Rotterdam, the the huge port, the haven of Rotterdam, and um, it has been such an important place also to ship children and to traffic them that way, via containers, and that will all be revealed, and partially it already has been revealed. But if you don't follow those kind of telegram, mostly telegram channels, then you won't know it. So I think it's about time that it becomes a bigger thing for everyone, that you have the choice to know it, and that it's shown in a much larger scale what's all going on with the children. And a lot of people are waking up to it. I'm very sorry for the things you come across. It's horrific and it's sickening and whatnot. But it is very important for the healing of the collective, and to make it better afterwards. It's very important to know and to be aware of all of these things. So I picked up my writing again, and from my personal experiences with child trafficking, but also um, with the journey to um, to come to, well, a form of acceptance and um, of turning it around, so I can do something productive with it, and constructive, to um, and to help others with my story, and also to just um, be a part of the awakening. And we a lot of people are doing a part. Some do it in silence, some do it more outward, and that's all good. um, I'm writing my story in English because I can express myself much better via English. Um, it's also more oriented and more understandable in many different places on the earth. So it's not only um, based and centered in the Netherlands and stuff like that. It's an international thing, and of course, my story has a big history in the Netherlands. But that's just what it is. That's that is the past, and the Dutch language is not in the past. I still use it, of course, but to reach more people with my story, I've chosen for the English language, and eventually when I'm much better with vocally, it will also be in Portuguese, and and some will also be in Dutch. But yeah, it's more like a new beginning, and I never choose to be in the Netherlands, so I do not have an emotional bonding with the language. So um, with English, I do have that, and I can say certain things in more different ways in English than in Dutch, uh, and I prefer that. Um, I've decided to close off with a piece of what I have written already, and it's on my laptop that's here before me. So um, I'm going to read now, and then I'll finish this video. This piece I'm going to read to you is called "The Time Machine." Okay, there we go. We go back in time to the 70s of the 19th century. The church and its missionary works are in these days highly represented in every region in Brazil. And it is not only the Catholic Church, but also the religions and churches brought in by estrangeiros, expats, um, are settled in via the many colonies Brazil had back then. People from everywhere came, especially after the Second World War. Many came to Brazil to start a new, mostly agricultural life. A lot of them came from the old Europe. Many Dutch farmers came as well because of the strict rules of the Dutch government. How to have a farm with cattle was for many a bridge too far, and people went to Canada, Scandinavia, United States, and Latin America. Brazil was very popular because of the gaucho style, or in English, cowboy style, of farming, which less strict rules and much more space for the animals. And also, the farmers were allowed more animals because of the fact there is way more space in Brazil. Colonies were implanted filled with the estrangeiros from everywhere. There were few mixed colonies, most of them were formed by the land of origin. So, the one I will discuss mainly will be the Dutch colony, one of the Dutch colonies, because there were more. It was built by farmers, businessmen, churches, investors all of all kinds, and a lot of others. So many things and people came together and built a self-sufficient colony. There were schools, shops, an important milk factory, churches, and their communities within the bigger community, etc. My former Dutch father was a veterinarian, and so he started his own practice there. He and his wife already had 5 children of their own, who all went to school there and spoke the language fluent. My former Dutch family were also heavily involved in the church community and lived in the more southern region of Brazil, where, as I learned by research, was one of the biggest child trafficking hubs. Brazil, like other Latin American countries, have been a dream for any kind of trafficking because there were no rules. During and shortly after the last dictatorial ruler, there was a period of darkness where practically everything was possible until the country got somewhat more stable. The criminality was more in the open. In the Netherlands, they know how to cover everything up, so they stay unnoticed. The child trafficking business was highly financially supported by the church community from the Netherlands. My former Dutch father had all kinds of connections with highly profiled elites from that time. To give a few examples, the CEO of the Rabobank, the CEO of KLM, the CEO of Landia, a former Dutch furniture factory, etc., etc. Nowhere documents can be found where all of these parties came together to set up a plan for child trafficking, hidden under the umbrella of legal adoption. The Netherlands, and especially a huge human rights lawyer's office in Amsterdam, had a very important role in making child trafficking legal on paper. To do so, there was a need of a powerful lawyer with extra expertise in this matter. No, to come up with a very cunning way to make a strong framework for intercountry adoption, so it looks great on paper, but in practice, without any thorough control system to make sure all of these practices go by the rule of law. The rules and laws were made and signed for on paper, with a huge backdoor left open for the usage of trafficking children without any legal consequences. This is, in short, how the Hague Convention works. The lawyer in question received a royal distinction for this. So there's no problem with the regulations, it is just what happens after. You can have as much regulations and conventions as possible, but if the aftercare is non existent, then it is no rocket science to understand that such a system is very sensitive for perverse incentives. During those days, in that period of time, deals for selling children and exchanging names of how to arrange the illegal paperwork and so on were made during a good meal with a lot of expensive alcohol, which were lower, way lower priced than in Europe back then. I have seen the receipts and some names of such agreements. It is incredible how much people are needed to make a whole network like this operating in the way it did. I will break it down a little so you will get a good idea of how it all works and what a thriving business this actually is. Where to begin? Well, if we start at the real beginning, we need to have connections. My so called father and others found each other quickly. Church played a very significant part in all of this. All the criminal activities were heavily funded by this community. I think it was necessary to prey on pregnant women and or use facilities which help pregnant women and vulnerable children alike. So we need midwives, nurses, gynecologist, missionaries, and other religious field workers. Then there are the orphanages and houses for the poor. All of these facilities and people who work there could pray for vulnerable families, children, and of course, pregnant women. Unfortunately, also back then, there have been facilities where women held against their will only to become pregnant so that the newborns could easily taken from them for the trafficking business. These places are called baby farms. And the existence of these horrors were known by practically every participating government. And we must not forget all of the youth care and child protection institutes and all other institutes with corresponding services. These institutes have easy access to vulnerable children and parents, so that is also a way of robbing children out of their environments and get them on the trafficking market. When we look at this, it is pretty easy to take children and use them for whatever you want: sex trafficking, organ trafficking, etc. Adoption exists because of the well hidden possibilities to traffic children in whatever direction. This truth will hit hard, especially in the still colonial ideas alive in many across the world today. Okay, now I will go further with explaining how these networks operate, especially the one my former Dutch family was a part of. Transport is necessary. I find out the church community was very much involved in this as well. There were, in this case, mostly Dutch deaconess sisters who had VW buses funded by the church communities, and they drove the stolen and robbed children through the country to their next destination. Yes, this is called abduction. In many cases, they also went across borders with neighbor countries from Brazil. Those destinations mentioned were in most cases not the final destination. I know by research that a lot of children were given on parking lots or parks, etc., to the people who took care for the child for a short period of time. There were pass on houses with Dutch families who took care of babies and children while waiting for the paperwork. This means falsify birth certificates and get a visum, passport, or other form to travel out the country with the new parents with by the way are which by the way are marked as the original birth parents of these children. My former Dutch family was one of those pass on houses, and how convenient they had more than one house. They had several houses, different addresses, so they could alternate where they stayed temporarily. This made it more inconspicuous what exactly they were doing. This trick with houses continued back in the Netherlands, by the way, and there we moved houses every 2 years to erase and cover up possible traces. And for me, it was only possible to make short term connections, very helpful for a little one who is unrooted. And believe me, they knew exactly what they were doing. It was never their intention to make me feel safe, but that is a whole different story for later. So there were small local authority offices that were part of the network who had civil servants who helped falsify the personal data of the stolen children. These were spread all over the country, but this was mainly in the south of Brazil, where the child trafficking business was centered at the time. The falsified birth certificates and other forms now needed to be approved by, in these cases, a high profile civil servant of the Dutch embassy stationed in Brazil. In this case, it concerns the then in office working Dutch consul R in R. In exchange for money or other valuable assets, he approved every single stolen Brazilian child to become a new Dutch citizen. After this, the Brazilian child went to the Netherlands without any problems at the border, even when some years later there was a special alert at the national airport Schiphol for all customs employees, aviation personnel, and military police to check heavily when there was even the slightest suspicion of trafficking. Of course, nothing happened with that. Always just agreed on paper, nothing more, nothing less. They all chose to wash their hands in innocence. I think up until this point, I've made very clear how deep this works and how many are and were involved, and also how all is controlled by an almost invisible force that is so horrific powerful when it comes to child human trafficking. The money involved is so much more than, for example, trafficking weapons or drugs, but the way it works is practically always the same: prey on the goods, steal the goods, distribute the goods, and finally sell the goods wherever there is the market to do so. And most of the time, the market to do so is everywhere. One more time, I will explain in short and clear how these illegal adoptions were conducted. Couple A travels to Brazil. There, they think to adopt a child with, in some cases, like mine, pre specified preferences such as a boy or a girl and darker or lighter in skin color. Yes, for real. It was just like ordering a new puppy or kitten. The Brazilian child will then receive a birth certificate there with couple A as the biological birth parents. Subsequently, and an entry visa or other papers must be arranged through a Dutch government institution, a consulate embassy. These were also often replaced by stamps from the Dutch military police. And this, while it is very clear, even visible, that these cannot be the birth parents. Once in the Netherlands, this falsified identity is endlessly continued. In many cases, the immigration police, customs officials, military police, and many others played an important role at Schiphol Airport in supporting this trade and bringing the smuggled goods in and allowed them into the Netherlands. All of this pointed out to me points to coordinated criminal activities and therefore organized crime. These crimes should be classified as crimes against humanity. In Belgium and some other countries, this is already the case, but of course, not in the Netherlands. In the Netherlands, they were cunning, or at least they think they were. They themselves did not commit the crime that we know as embezzlement of state, but it was approved by the Dutch consul of the Dutch embassy. In my opinion, just as guilty and punishable, because one cannot exist without the other. Um, yeah, that was it. What I was wanted to read till so far. Thank you very much for watching this. It means it means the world to me, and it's important. It's of importance if you have watched this until the end. I thank you very much for that, and you will soon hearing more from me because it is about my own story and my experience with this illegal adoption, child trafficking business. But it's also about what how I alchemize it and transform it into something else. So thank you very much, and see you all soon. Ciao. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye. Ciao ciao.